morning. We're at day 5. It went by fast. Um, so there were so many different directions I could go, but I thought this morning would be, we hadn't yet talked about inner observer, so I thought I'd go in that direction because that really, to me, is one of the main reasons we actually do anything mindful. When we're mindful, when we start to, as soon as we're mindful, we are now the observer instead of letting life just take you along for the ride. And, when our nervous system kicks in and we have feelings about things, the more intense the feeling is, the less we're able to notice what's going on and the less we end up having choice. And so the less internal steadiness we have to address things effectively and with more consciousness. So as we're practicing today, try and sort of notice, can I put myself in the seat of watching what's happening more instead of actually letting myself get carried away with it? Now, we usually will do that to some extent, but it's just as soon as you notice, because it's a muscle, like learning to have that curiosity that we talked about earlier in the week. Because curiosity and inner observer are definitely related. So, can you keep returning to this place of being curious what's going on, of being the observer of what goes on? And it's what I like to call and this is probably revealing of when I was born, the Jane Goodall technique. I feel like the most famous sort of observer was Jane Goodall, at least in my world. My dad liked watching documentaries. And so, can we, be the person that observes, whatever your name is, Melanie in her natural habitat? Here's Melanie and what goes on in her head. Because we are fascinating. You are fascinating. Whatever it is that you do and wherever your mind goes is going to give you all the information you need to understand you and the territory that becomes your personal growth realm, your just knowing more about who you are, how your mind works, how your nervous system works. And when you do that, you have a level of detachment from it. Not that you're totally detached, because you're still feeling it and experiencing it, but now you're not letting it be in control. And when you're not letting the emotions be in control, you can experience them without letting your decisions be made by them. And most of us have had some sort of experience of, my emotions decided that the best course of action was X, and then we realized the result from that was really not what I was going for. And while you're doing that, it's important to have gentleness, because usually when we start noticing what we do, the first thing that we want to do is we want to have judgment. And judgment, oh man, judgment is it's usually something we've learned. So just keep that in mind. It's just something I learned. It was the way that I defended myself. If part of me got really vigilant about what I shouldn't do, I will stay safe. That's all that is. It's just a nervous system response to trying to feel safe. And I find that's helpful to remember, because what we tend to do is when we don't do it right, what we tend to do is we tend to beat ourselves up. And if you think about when you're learning a new skill, so as you're learning to be the observer, you're learning a new skill, you're always going to go through these phases of moving things from unconsciousness to consciousness, from being unconsciously incompetent, meaning I don't know how to do it, and I'm not even conscious of the fact that I don't know how to do it. And you're going to move from that to being consciously incompetent. Now I know that I don't know how to do that. That's generally the most uncomfortable stage. Then you become consciously competent. That's when you're learning to do it, but it's like it's kind of uncomfortable and it takes a lot of thought. And that one I would say is probably the next least comfortable. But you're having some success sometimes. So there's some, return for your efforts. So you start to feel a bit better until you eventually become unconsciously competent. And that's when something becomes muscle memory. It has more ease, more flow. You go to it more easily. And if I bring in the analogy of riding a bike, um, if you think about when either you learned to ride a bike as a kid, or maybe one of your kids learned to ride a bike as a kid, think about what was the most effective. So there's all these parts to learning to ride a bike. It's like, can I keep my balance? Can I trust that if I lift my feet off the ground and I press the pedal, things are going to go? So there's sort of this faith trust piece. I've got to like make my feet go around at the same time. I've got to do my balance at the same time. I've got to remember how to use the brake at the same time. I've got to watch where I'm going. There's so many processes happening simultaneously that it's hard to get that down. And if we fall, so imagine if one of your kids, you're teaching them how to ride and they fall off the bike, what do you typically do? We're typically, if we have some softness to us, we typically will be very empathetic. We'll, tell them it's okay, like there's a lot going on. I've got you. Let's try it again when you're ready. Those sort of things. But that's not what we do to ourselves. And those behaviors I was just describing, those encourage growth and continuing to move forward with the skill. But what we tend to do with ourselves is we tend to kick ourselves when we're down. We fall over because we're not quite getting it right. And what we do is we tend to go, oh man, I got it wrong again. Why can't I just get this? And if we did that to our kids, what imagine them falling off their bike, they tip over. You go, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you get that? Get back on there. You're never going to get this. That's what we do with ourselves. And it doesn't work. So I like that analogy because I just feel like it really paints the picture very clearly, that clearly that is not the way to go about it. So be really gentle with yourself, be the observer, give yourself that advice you'd give your child on the bike. It's like, hey, I noticed that. I noticed that when, you start to turn, little helpful tips to try and, help with what to do next to make it go a little better. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to be, when you notice you're not doing it quite right, can you just be kind and understanding with yourself? Give yourself some encouragement. Nobody ever gets something the first time, ever, 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 ever. It just does, or maybe miraculously happens once in a while, but it's not what I notice when I'm doing my personal growth work. So the things you're going to start to observe are, what's actually going on in my mind? Like when I'm going along and I get distracted or my brain's going where it goes, can I notice any themes to things? Like, how am I feeling under there? What are the things I tend to do? I go to my to-do list. That's interesting. I have a hard time letting go of my to-do list. Do I go to overwhelm? Do I worry whether or not I'm doing it right? That's all good information. And it all starts to point the arrow towards things like, what are the internal rules that run me? Because we all have these internal rules that our nervous system learned to adapt to make sure that everything would go okay. So start to notice what they are. If you don't know what they are, you can't work on them. Start to notice, what am I scared of? Where do I need more care? Because there's things where we just need more care. Where do I need more support? It's probably where you didn't get support growing up. And if you don't know about something, can you be curious? Can you plant like I find that asking internally, or sometimes I sort of call it asking up. It's kind of the same thing, right? Can I ask my higher self? Can I ask, the a part of myself that knows? Can I ask my subconscious? These are all things we can do. Can I plant the seed of a question and just say, I wonder what that's about? Because sometimes we don't know the answer. But if we are open and we are curious, sometimes the information will come. If we ask, it's amazing what we get answers to. And if you're not getting an answer, I mean, I generally sort of say, and make the answer really, really clear. because sometimes I don't get the subtle hints. All right, so I think that probably, yeah, I want to make sure we get to our practice. So I'm going to, again, like yesterday, leave the mindfulness piece to however you want it to look, whether you do a body scan through your body, whether you just kind of sit and let your mind clear and notice what comes and what flows, what you notice in your body. Can you just be curious about what's going on in your body? Sort of like what we've done this week, like what are the qualities of it? Is there a color? Like just anything about what's happening. Can you sit with it and just be with it? Let yourself know that you're present and you're paying attention, and just let it have its natural flow. Learning to be in flow is so important. So, can you start to drop into your body, taking some deep breaths? Just noticing what it's like to stop, particularly for people that go, 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 go. Just let yourself arrive in this moment, giving yourself full permission to just be. Can you just be present in anything that comes up in your body? Knowing that the next few minutes are a gift to pay attention to yourself in a way that perhaps you've grown unaccustomed to being. And I'm just going to let stillness be in the room. So we'll be quiet for a little bit. And one more minute. And as you're wrapping up your practice, Send a deep breath into your heart. And with that deep breath, send yourself gratitude. You are an amazing system of all these different systems that make everything work, that keep you safe, that keeps your body healthy, that does so many things that we forget how amazing this system is. And we forget how amazing we are. We forget, little kids have got this amazement about the world. Do you remember when they were really little? Everything's amazing. And we are amazing. Humans are truly amazing. So just thank yourself for all the amazing things that you are capable of, the safety mechanisms you have, the lessons they've taught you, everything. You are amazing. All right. I wish you well. Thank you for joining me for this week. I've been meaning to do this for a while, and it was a real pleasure to do it. And it was lovely seeing everybody. And yeah, you're welcome to view the recordings whenever you want if you need a little bit more assistance with practice. And thank you. Have a lovely day and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.